What's up everyone, Max Tech Toy Box here, and today we're doing a video comparison between the Fossil Generation 5 smartwatch and the Apple Watch Series 4. Some of the bigger fighters in this smartwatch arena, so let's see which one of them deserves a spot on your wrist. So as always, we have to talk about the price. The Fossil Generation 5 smartwatch is coming in at about $299 at launch. You can get it probably for the low 200s currently. And the Apple Watch Series 4, when it was launched, this is the stainless steel version with GPS and cellular. I paid around $750, close to $800. So definitely on the higher end of the spectrum. But again, this version does also come with cellular, so that means that you can make phone calls if you do have it connected to a plan. The Fossil Generation 5, you do not have that ability. So next up, we have to talk about the design. So the Apple Watch Series 4, you either love it or you hate it. Me personally, I do like that AMOLED display, that sort of squirgle type look and design. It's been refined over the years since Apple originally launched it with the Series 1, and it's sort of grown on me. I really like it a lot. I think that this is a very nice looking device. Unfortunately, because of that look, that means that if you're wearing this, that means that everyone will know that you are wearing an Apple Watch. That's either fortunate or unfortunate. If you wanted to have something a little bit more incognito with just a regular circle design, you don't get that with the Apple Watch. On the right hand side, you do have your digital crown that you can use throughout navigating the entire operating system, which is very nice. You also have your side button, which sort of brings up your previous apps that you can close out of. And of course, with the digital crown, you can also select applications. On that right side, you also have the microphone, which is cool. And then on the left side, you have a speakerphone, which has 2 notches here. Speakerphone quality is fairly good. Unfortunately, with the speakerphone, you cannot listen to music. The only way to listen to music directly from the watch is if you have Bluetooth headphones connected, but you cannot listen to music directly from the watch just through the speakerphone. But you can take phone calls from the watch through that speakerphone. Turning things over around back, you do have your optically based heart rate monitors. I would say one of, at least in my testing, the most accurate optically based heart rate monitor that I've seen. Still not as good as a chest heart rate monitor, as you guys will see me lament in all of my videos, but one of the best, if not the best, optically based heart rate monitors around back. And then of course with this, you do have one portion of your EKG. This part has to contact your skin, and then your finger touching on the digital crown activates the rest of the EKG so that you can get that reading. This also does use wireless charging. I think it's MIFI, I'm not 100% sure, but it's not the Qi standard. It's Apple's proprietarized wireless charging standard. Charges fairly okay, we'll get to that in a second. And then you have your proprietarized wrist straps as well. Fairly easy, quick release. If I'm being honest, when you are taking these on and off in comparison to the standard 22mm watch straps, those are super easy to do. However, these are just easier because you just sort of slide it right in and you're done. You just press a button, you release it, and then you slide another pair in. With the other ones, you have to sort of pull that pin back and then you have to match the sides. Those are also super easy, don't get me wrong, but this is just easier because it's less minutia you sort of have to go through. So that's the way that the Apple Watch Series 4 looks. Now let's talk about the Fossil Generation 5. So with the Fossil Generation 5, you do have that beautiful AMOLED display. The one that I have here is black and gold. I love that design. I like the contrast of those colors. On your right hand side, you get that standard sort of 3-button layout with your selector, I guess you could say, that middle button you can use to launch your apps, your app drawer, and you can sort of scroll through parts of the operating system with this as well. And it's also your universal back button. And then you have your 2 quick launch buttons where you can have those set up to open up certain applications that you wanted to open up. Those are customizable, which is cool. Also on that right side, you do have a microphone. And then on your left side, you have a speakerphone. Only one grill here, but again, the speakerphone in this is also pretty good. When I've taken phone calls, people couldn't even, they didn't even know that I was placing the phone call through my smartwatch. Now this is Bluetooth only, Bluetooth and GPS, it's not cellular, so you do have to have a cell phone connected to this in order to make those phone calls. But just the call quality, people didn't know that I was using a speakerphone, let alone a smartwatch. So fairly good call quality. And also with this speakerphone, you can play music directly from it. I'm gonna go ahead and let you guys listen to a clip now. So pretty decent speakerphone. Turning things over, you do have the optically based wrist heart rate monitor. Not the most accurate, unfortunately. Then you do have your sort of metal pins around the back for quick connect for your quick wireless charging. Charges fairly quickly. And then you have your industry standard 22mm watch strap disconnect and connect connectors. So overall, if we're just talking about the design of both watches, it's sort of whichever you pick your poison. I do think that the Fossil Generation 5 looks good. I do like that circular display. It looks fairly nice to me. The Apple Watch also looks good if you're into that sort of square design. And like I said, they're both just very refined. And holding them both in the hand, they both have a certain amount of heft and weight to them, and they both feel really good. And that's saying a lot because the Fossil is literally less than half the price of the the Fossil Generation 5 is less than half the price of the Apple Watch Series 4. Now you can get the Series 4 now for at a bit of a discounted price, probably around a little under $500 refurbished, but still you can get this at 200 and some change brand new, and they feel about the same. Maybe the Apple Watch is a little bit heavier, but they have that nice feel that lets you know that you're holding something substantial. So next up, let's talk a little bit about what you can and can't do with both of these devices. So both of these devices do have GPS, so that means that you're getting fairly accurate activity tracking when you go on runs and if you go on cycling and walking, outdoor walks, things of that nature. GPS is within 1/10 of each other, so fairly accurate across the board for both of them. You get that optically based wrist heart rate monitor on both of them. The Apple Watch Series 4 is just more accurate. However, with both of them, you do have the ability to connect a Bluetooth heart rate monitor so that you get more accurate fitness tracking during those workouts. So that's very good. And that's really what's most important, that you're getting the most accurate information. You do get all day activity tracking with steps and things like that being monitored. You get all day activity tracking with your heart rate being monitored. With the Fossil Generation 5, it uses Google Fit. And then with the Apple Watch Series 4, of course, you're using Apple Health. Unfortunately, you're not really getting true continuous 24-hour heart rate monitoring with the Fossil Generation 5. It takes a reading every 15 minutes. With the Apple Watch, I really can't find out if it's supposed to be every minute. It seems like it tries to obtain something every 1 minute or every couple of minutes. And then that does get logged. If it doesn't obtain a reading, it sort of stops and then tries again in a couple of minutes. But I haven't been able to find anything that says that it's continuous every minute on the minute of every hour. And I haven't really found that in the readings either. So for your activity tracking, Google Fit and Apple Health, they both do a decent job at tracking that information for you. And they both connect to a bunch of other third-party applications, which is good. Next up, you can take and place phone calls with these watches directly on both Android and on iOS. The Fossil Generation 5 is the only Android Wear smartwatch that I'm aware of that you can actually make phone calls if you had an iPhone, that's a pretty big deal because you couldn't do that before. They just pushed that update a couple of months ago. So you can take and make phone calls from your Fossil Generation 5 smartwatch if you have an iPhone, so that's good. And then of course you can do that with your Apple Watch, but you cannot do this. This Apple Watch does not connect to Android. Also with notifications, this is where things start to just sort of separate themselves if you're using only iOS versus if you're using Android. On Android, you get two-way notifications. On the Fossil Gen 5, you can respond to messages via dictation with Google Assistant. Voice dictation is fairly accurate. I will say that sometimes it's hit or miss with connectivity issues. If your watch is connected to your phone or not, that's sort of a whole separate issue with Wear OS, not necessarily just with the Fossil Generation 5, but when it works, it's great. When it runs into issues, it runs into issues. Now, if you have this watch connected to your Apple iPhone, you're not going to be able to respond to two-way notifications. They just come up, your wrist buzzes, and it lets you know that you have that notification, but you can't respond. That's not a knock on the watch, just because of the walled garden that Apple has. It doesn't allow you to do that. Apple only works with Apple, so the only way that you can respond to those notifications is with the Apple Watch. So of course, that means that if you get notifications on your wrist with the Apple Watch, you can respond via dictation. You can also type on the screen. You can send emojis and things like that with the Apple Watch Series 4, okay? You can listen to music on both of these devices. With the Fossil Generation 5, it uses Google Play Music. You can download music directly onto the watch and take it on a run without having to be connected to your phone. And again, like I said earlier, you can play music directly through the speakerphone, or you can connect Bluetooth headphones. With the Apple Watch, it uses Apple Music. You can download music directly to the watch and take it for a run the same way. However, you can only listen to music if you have headphones in. Now, I guess the difference here is because this is cellular, if you don't have the music downloaded, you can still stream it directly to the watch. You cannot do that with the Generation 5 because there's no cellular connectivity as of yet. Maybe in a new updated Fossil watch, they may do that. Next up, battery, okay? So unfortunately, Wear OS is a bit more power hungry, and because it's more power hungry, you will definitely have to charge your Fossil Generation 5 at least one time throughout the day. If you're planning on using this for sleep tracking, which is not built in, it's not built in on either of these devices, but there are third-party applications that allow that information to be tracked. You'd have to charge this twice over the span of 24 hours. If you're working out daily, you definitely will have to put this on the charger at least once at nighttime. If you're not going to wear it to bed, it'll get you through your full day of use for sure. On the Apple Watch, you can get about a day and a half to maybe 2 days. If you do not work out, you can get 2 days of use with the Apple Watch. If you work out, you can get a day and a half, and that's with you using it for sleep tracking overnight. Watch OS is just a bit more, I guess you could say reserved in terms, or maybe aggressive with battery management, because it just doesn't run as heavy, okay? The battery just lasts a bit longer. Part of that also has to do with some inherent design things, from design aspects from the operating system. With the Fossil Generation 5, this does have always on display, okay? You can turn that off and you can make it so that there's tilt to raise on the device. There's just a bunch of customizations that you can do with the Fossil Generation 5 to improve on battery life. Not to mention that it also has a battery saver mode built in. You can go and check out my Fossil Generation 5 review, and I'll touch base a little bit more in there. But there's a lot more that you can do in terms of customizations for the battery on the Fossil Gen 5 that you can't do with the Apple Watch. Now, with that being said, you don't have to do that on the Apple Watch. It's sort of like Apple tells you, okay, this is what you need in a watch, and because this is what you need in a watch, we know that you'll get through this amount of time through the day so that you don't have to charge it more. So it's sort of like whichever side of the fence you lay on. If you're somebody that wants to be able to dictate what you want your watch to do, then the Fossil Generation 5 would be more for you. If you're okay with Apple sort of telling you what you can and can't do with this watch, then the Series 4 is good for you. Now, the Series 5 does have that always on display built in, and there is some knocks or hits on the battery life there. But Apple did think of a pretty ingenious way to try to reduce the battery life hit by adjusting the refresh rate on that particular model. So all in all, if you want my opinion on which one of these devices you should pick up, it's really sort of, it's a little tough to say, okay? I believe personally that the Apple Watch Series 4 is the best smartwatch to date because of everything that you can do. It does have Siri built in. You get your two-way notifications. You can respond to messages. It works 90 to 95% of the time. Very few flaws. I work out a lot. You can have a bunch of different activities that you can track directly from the watch. Not saying you can't do that here, but you have the ability to connect Bluetooth heart rate monitor. Again, you can do that here, but it's just a lot more feasible and usable. You get that sleep tracking on the device with the third-party application. It is not as power hungry. It lasts me a bit longer, and so because of that, that's why the Apple Watch Series 4 is the device that I wear daily, okay? The Fossil Generation 5 is it's probably tied, well, it is tied for the best Android Wear smartwatch in my opinion. Whether you're on Android or if you're on the iPhone, you can do 80% of the things that you get with the Apple Watch. I'd probably say 80-85% of them you can get with the Fossil Generation 5. The biggest knock is just that you can't get two-way notifications, so you can't respond to messages. For some people that don't want to respond to messages, then basically the Fossil Generation 5 is a pretty good watch for you because of all of the other things that you are able to do with it. And not to mention that price at $200 versus, well, let's just say if we're talking about launch prices, $300 versus $800 about, it's less than half the price, and you're getting 80 to 85% of the smartwatch. It's sort of like a no-brainer almost, like you should just go ahead and purchase the Fossil Generation 5. Some people would just automatically say that because of that price, they're not even in the same league, but they are. And definitely, of course, if you have an Android device, this is the smartwatch that you should get. Between this and the Skagen Pulsar 3, in my opinion, very fast. I didn't even go over specs because Apple doesn't really release specs here on the Apple Watch Series 4, and it's not needed, okay? But this is definitely one of the best smartwatches you can purchase. If you have an Android device, this is what I would recommend. If you have an iPhone, I would recommend you could get either one of these. But if you just want more future compatibility and you just want a little bit more ease of use and you don't want things to be super complicated, then I would recommend getting the Apple Watch, the Series 4. I mean, the Series 5 you can go out and purchase, but in my opinion, the Series 4 right now, if you can get it refurbished or brand new at a steal, then that would be the way that I would go. Because from what I understand, even with the Series 5, with that always on display, the knock in the battery is just not worth it for that upgraded price, at least in my opinion. I just paid $800 for this. I wasn't gonna pay another $800 for the Series 5. So this is Max Tech Toy Box. Hope you guys enjoyed the video review. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you guys have to say. What are you guys' thoughts? Do you guys like the Fossil Generation 5? Do you guys like the Apple Watch Series 4? Let me know your opinions in the comment section below. I want you guys to stay safe, and until I see you guys again, peace.